Welcome back, guys. This is Automotive Anonymous. That's my 2023 Mazda MX-5 Miata Club. And today is the 3-month or 6,000 mile update video on it. It's been a couple months since my last update video, and I apologize in case you follow my channel for that purpose. It's been about 2 months and 5,000 miles since the last one, so there's been a few changes. A few new mods have come out, and a lot of miles, a lot of new impressions have been formed. But you know what? Those can mostly be summed up in 4 words. It's the best car, and the MX-5 Miata is happy with that statement. Here's what I mean. It's incredibly fun, easy to live with, and driving it the way I do, a lot of 80-mile-per-hour interstate driving, it gets about 37, 38 miles per gallon. But I've gone as good as about 42, 43 on a tank if I'm doing a road trip that's all country, 60, 65 mile-per-hour driving. So it's just fantastic. There's, of course, not been a single problem, as you would expect on a brand new car. But since buying this, or even since I knew that this was going to be my next performance car, my next fun car, I've driven 2 Hellcat vehicles, the Trackhawk Grand Cherokee and the T-Rex, which is something I've wanted to drive since they came out 2 years ago. I also drove the Tesla Model S Plaid, that's a 1,000 horsepower EV, and at one time held the world's fastest production car record. But you know what, guys? Every time I get into a car like that, that does have a price tag of 90 grand plus, I leave it wishing or being glad that I'm back in my Miata as I'm driving back home. Those cars are the pinnacle of what they are, the fastest, the most aggressive, most powerful gas-powered truck at the time, or the fastest Jeep. But you know what? Fun per dollar. They're not worth 90 grand, they're not worth 130 grand or whatever they're gonna cost. When you've driven a $30,000 car, that's more fun, more forgiving, that you can actually take to the limits on the street without doing things that are utterly illegal. Why would you want such an expensive car? Something that you can't even feel like you could park it in a normal parking spot or perpendicular like I have it today. It's just fun, it's easy to live with, and it's been a joy to drive. I'm glad that this is what I own, but then when I get to test drive other cars, I can enjoy them for what they are, but I'm thankful that this is the car that I stuck with, that I decided, and that I foreseeably will enjoy for a long time. Maybe in comparison to some more reasonable cars, like I just drove a new 5-liter Mustang and a modified 350 wheel horsepower Pontiac Solstice, which is basically the big XL turbo version of this. That kind of confirmed for me that I don't think I would boost this. I figured I would probably want to supercharge it, you know, in a year or two, couple years from now. But after driving the modified one, having the naturally aspirated linear power band and complete reliability, I just think I would have a lot more fun keeping this bone stock performance-wise than I would heavily modifying it, always worried that something's going to break, something's not going to be able to handle the power. And once you go down the rabbit hole of modifications, you constantly have to build up the rest of the system in order to handle and manage what else you've already added to it, and in preparation for the next modification. Speaking of mods, this has 3 on it, 1 on order, nothing too crazy except for what's on order. But we still have the window tint by the Tint Lady in Southern Idaho. She does wonderful work. She's a wonderful person. Go to her if you're in the area and you're looking for tint. We have Raceseng 4,500 pound rated tow tongue straps, which are really good. I did those front and rear. I haven't had to use them. I don't anticipate I'm going to. But the Miata didn't come with an eye bolt hole or anything. I like the look. I like that it's kind of making it more of a track looking vibe. And if you ever need to be towed, you have them ready for you. And then 7,500 RPM is the license plate, because that's one of the few flexes that the little Miata has. I guess that and its low weight. That's really about all it can flex on the big cars. And then on order is a legit roll bar, because I don't think these aesthetically pleasing covers on the maybe half-inch shorter aluminum roll bars are really going to do a whole lot for you in a crash. If you've seen what those look like, here's a picture of that. So we're going to have a tubular, legit SCCA approved roll bar that I'll install once it arrives, so that if I do want to take it to the track, it's a little bit more prepared, a little bit more set up for that sort of activity. Safety first, right, guys? Remember, I do physical therapy full-time, and I sometimes work with people who are in nasty car accidents, so you want to set yourself up as well as you can. These are a 4-star crash test rated on the European tests. They haven't been tested in the US, they just haven't had to with how the laws work. But if you're going to track it, if you're going to drive it aggressively, you should have it set up ready to go. Speaking of, for the purpose of this video and kind of anticipating waiting on the roll bar, I didn't clean it because I wanted to show you guys what snowflaked white metallic paint looks like when it's dirty. And 5,000 miles of bugs, and rain and a tiny bit of snow since the last update video, which is honestly the last time I washed it. It looks pretty good. The wheels have held up well, but when they are washed, they do look substantially better. But that white metallic paint, I am extremely thankful that that's what I went with, which was for the purpose of knowing that I do a lot of driving, and I don't think I'm going to clean it that often. It's not a garage queen. It's honestly my daily driver. In fact, I've only driven my Outback Wilderness about 2,000 miles since I've gotten this car. That's mostly just been to charge the battery, or when, you know, maybe the snow is a little bit too much for the Miata on stock summer tires. And with that said, we can't exclude the engine bay. With over 6,000 miles, this seriously still looks better than some of the brand new 0-mile cars that I borrowed to do reviews on. Dollar Tree rubber lining holding up exceptionally well, and I seriously don't understand why more auto manufacturers don't include that for you guys. If you're buying a new car, if you have a car, clean up the engine bay, put some rubber lining on. Look at the difference it makes. This has driven through heavy rain and snow a few times. Not being cleaned once. It looks fantastic. The wheels and tires are honestly holding up really well, and now that I've put more miles on it, I'm actually pretty glad that I didn't get the Brembo BBS or Recaro package, just because the factory equipment is so good. But where I do travel for work, 75 miles a day round trip for my typical day job, and sometimes up to about 280 miles when I'm doing some PRN therapy, I think the next time it needs tires, maybe by the end of next year, I'll probably go with some run flats, because this does not come with a spare tire. Where would you put it? The cubic trunk space is 4.6. It does have a fix-a-flat kit, but with modern run flat technology, some of those can go over 50 miles at 50 miles per hour, you know, with a flat tire. So I think with what I do for my day job, I might invest in that next time it needs new wheels. If you like this style of update video, or you like the car in general, please be so kind to give it a big thumbs up. Your act of kindness really helps my channel grow. Thank you. Anyways, let's take it on the road, drive around for just a couple minutes, and then we'll be back here to wrap up this review update video. I'm driving with the windows up but the top down because that's one of the best ways to enjoy your Mazda Miata. Both myself and the backpack agree. But I've driven 80 miles per hour, over 100 miles on a trip to work before with the top down. And in the early morning watching the sunrise, there's not very many better driving experiences than that. I would say when you're driving in the heat, you know, 80 plus degrees, you're probably going to be wearing a hat, protect your head, fight off the sun cancer, things like that. Or just the heat because it doesn't feel very good. But driving around on a mid 60 degree day like today, shifting gears, top down, getting some air through your hair if you're not wearing a hat, which really feels like a free massage, is quite the nice experience, especially where these Bose headrest speakers do a fantastic job. That's another reason why I had trouble wanting to pay for the Recaro seats, because I figured you're already getting really good heated seats, which I will say the Miata heated seats I actually sometimes turn off because they do get that hot, and I'm someone who likes really hot seats. Or the headrest Bose speakers are fantastic. But this way, you don't have to worry about the cloth seats. They weigh less than 30 pounds a piece. I think they're pretty comfy. Of course, they could have a little bit more lumbar support, but honestly, they're pretty good. The vehicle has pretty good safety features. I really like the blind spot monitoring when the roof's up, but honestly, it's not that hard to turn around if you have decent range of motion and to look at your surroundings. Otherwise, driving through farm fields, driving through the country like I often do, probably 90% of the time I'm behind the wheel of my Miata, is just a really nice place to be. I've gotten very used to the scrolly dial system, and I like it. I think Mazda does a pretty good job with that. It's low, the screen's not blocking any visibility, and it's not laggy like a lot of other modern systems. It's easy to shift. It's a very notchy system. I drove another WRX just a couple weeks ago. Compared to this, that felt like a long throw. That felt like my last Toyota Tacoma. That didn't feel like the notchy Mazda shifter. Overall though, guys, this is seriously such a fun car. And as we slow down here, up to about 20 miles per hour, I find it very easy to put the top back up. That is one thing that will be a little bit more challenging once the new roll bar comes in. But for now, I'm enjoying the ease of a 1.7 second convertible. What are your thoughts, guys? Comment them below, but we'll get to our final thoughts otherwise. After owning this car for about 3.5 months, putting over 6,000 miles on it, and driving in reviews a few other brand new Mazda Miatas, I can honestly say it's still the funnest car I've ever owned, the funnest car I've driven. And I've driven quite a few pretty cool things on the channel and before I started the channel last year. So with my experience, with my biased opinion, this is the funnest car you can own. And it's crazy to me that it really doesn't have any competition. The closest thing on paper I think would be like a Boxster 718, but that costs 2 to 3 times as much. And even those lightweight Porsches weigh 800 pounds more than this. There's really no competition to the Miata. So whether you're gonna order a new one, which mine came in 6 weeks after ordering, which I thought was pretty impressive, or you're gonna find a used one, you just need to get behind the wheel of one. You need to test drive in and decide for yourself if this is the kind of vehicle that you want to own, the kind of vehicle that you want to rent on Toro for the day. Whatever you want to do, Mazda Miata is always the answer.